Hello, Hounds of Justice. It's Mjolnir Monday, April 22nd. I'm your very sore, very exhausted host, Sexy Thor. I guess combine sexy with Thor and you get sore, I guess. And it's your weekly thunder. By the way, I'm sure you could tell from last week's episode that I'm sort of trying out some new levels, so as far to make this pod friendly levels, I guess. But let me know, do you like the new levels? I think this is still on the new levels, this episode right here. Or do you like the, oh my god, he's right there in your face levels that are just like completely up and down? Like, I wish you could see how big these levels get in the old way. Like, holy shit. So let me know. Or don't, and I'll just figure this out myself. So, anyway. Told you guys that there was the superstar shakeup going on in the WWE this week, which means some superstars that have been on Raw the past year will go on SmackDown. Some superstars that have been on SmackDown the past year go on Raw, and a lot more people from NXT, NXT UK, and 205 Live get called up. And instead of trying to tell you exactly how all this transpired and who fought who and all that, I'm just going to tell you who's going to be on there. And so, of course, there's going to be a couple of exceptions, of which I'll explain the whole story behind that. But with Raw, it started out with Stephanie and Shane McMahon in the ring talking about the superstar shakeup for the people that don't know what it is. And then The Miz comes out with some unfinished business with Shane McMahon because he didn't actually win that match at WrestleMania, even though he beat the holy hell out of Shane. And started whacking him with a steel chair, and it was amazing. Of course, it makes sense to put Miz on Raw since Shane has control over SmackDown, and for story's sake, it's probably a little weird to have The Miz on SmackDown still. Also joining the roster is Ricochet and Aleister Black. Like, for reals this time, they're not going to be doing Raw and SmackDown and NXT because that schedule sounds exhausting and awesome. Eric and Ivar, which we they're called the Viking Experience. And if the Viking tag team sounds familiar, it's because they're the War Raiders that I've mentioned plenty of times. Rowe and Hansen, because it's Eric Rowe and Ivar Hansen. It's Hansen and Rowe, and it's the War Raiders. But for some reason now on the main roster, they're Eric and Ivar and the Viking Experience. I'm sure the Allfather is proud of that name. Not. Also joining the fray is Andrade and Zelina Vega and Rey Mysterio. And I was proud of myself for this one because Rey Mysterio was introduced with Elias going on there, and he's talking about how he was interrupted by the Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena, at WrestleMania. And then last week he was interrupted by The Undertaker. He was like, well, I'm going to get interrupted by another legend, and and I'm going to hurt him so bad he's not going to show his face. And then Rey Mysterio came out, which I figured out from the not show his face part. I'm sure like everybody did, because obviously Rey Mysterio wears a mask. Also, the Usos are part of the Raw Tag Team division, made that shit a lot better. Naomi's on there, which is great because she is married to Jimmy Uso, and so they don't have to be on two separate brands. EC3, they finally picked a brand for him, and he's going to be on Raw. Lacey Evans, who's now no longer just walking down the runway and waving, she's now part of that and is pretty much going to be Becky's number one contender for the Raw Women's Championship. Eric Young of the faction Sanity. Yeah, Sanity's pretty much broken up now because Eric Young is on Raw, Killian Dane is on SmackDown Live, and Alexander Wolf is on NXT UK. So, yeah. Also, Cedric Alexander from 205 Live, the guy that Buddy Murphy took the Cruiserweight Championship from. He's going to be on the TV now. And this takes us to SmackDown Live, because Otis and Tucker of Heavy Machinery are going to be on there. Mickey James, the BFF of Alexa Bliss, or the kayfabe BFF of Alexa Bliss. I don't know. They're pretty close in real life, but we all know that Alexa's best friend is Ember Moon in IRL. Speaking of which, Ember Moon is back in full action, and she is going to be on SmackDown. So that's two of Alexa's friends on SmackDown Live, along with her, I think, still fiance, Buddy Murphy. He's on SmackDown. So we're just everybody Alexa Bliss cares about, just throw them on the other brand, is I guess what they're going on. Also, Apollo Crews of Stone Mountain, Georgia, is on SmackDown. Chad Gable, the tag team partner of Bobby Roode, is on SmackDown, so that's broken up. And very truly tragic, Liv Morgan of the Riot Squad, she's the one with the pink hair that is really more Harley Quinn based than Alexa Bliss. Sorry to say, but honestly, it's kind of true at this point. The Riot Squad's been broken up, and she is on SmackDown. I think Sarah Logan and Ruby Riott are going to be singles competitors on Raw, if I'm correct. So the Freak Lars Sullivan is going to be on SmackDown only. And Bayley, while everybody's playing Where's Sasha, Bayley is now on SmackDown, and Sasha is, who knows. Kairi Sane is on SmackDown. She got called up in a very wonderful way, because the tag team that Paige is managing now, that pretty much said they will give the Iconics a run for their money. They are on SmackDown, and Paige is managing Asuka and Kairi Sane. So I guess they're just going to keep Io Shirai in NXT a little bit. So the Sky Pirates are broken up for now, but I'm sure they'll be back as soon as Io gets called up. But it's pretty awesome that she gets to team up with Asuka, because Asuka is one of her heroes. Also, Elias was introduced by Mr. McMahon as the biggest transaction SmackDown Live's ever received, or the biggest superstar SmackDown. I don't know how they phrased it. But before that, Intercontinental Champion Finn Balor is now on there. So the Intercontinental Championship is on SmackDown Live, while the United States Championship, still held by Samoa Joe, is going to be on Raw. Joe was going to make an appearance and start a feud with Braun Strowman last week on Raw, but he was out with the flu, I believe, so they just had Braun completely mess up EC3, basically. But Mr. McMahon introduced Elias as the biggest superstar to ever come to SmackDown Live. So Elias started playing, and I was just like, of course. And I was just like, wait a second. Elias always gets interrupted. That's going to be the actual superstar. That's the biggest one that's ever come to SmackDown Live. And sure enough, when he starts playing a song, you hear, dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. Okay, spoiler alert, Roman Reigns. Which was an amazing surprise, but kind of a bummer, because also AJ Styles was introduced as the last superstar coming on Raw. And the way they introduced him was him teaming up with Seth and Roman against Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, and Drew McIntyre. Which I was like, oh my god, I need all three of them to stay on Raw, because I really want to see this as a faction. So, if there's one person that can fill that Dean-sized void, it could be AJ. But the Shield is a sanctity that must not be messed with. You hear me, Jason Jordan? Kurt Angle, you're alright, but you're retired anyway. But AJ Styles teaming up with Roman and Seth was exactly what I needed coming this spring. But AJ is on Raw, possibly eventually sometime this year, going to be challenging for the Universal Championship, while Roman is on WWE. And Roman also Superman punched not just Elias, but Mr. McMahon himself. So Roman's kind of in a little sticky spot to start off his SmackDown storyline. In fact, the SmackDown preview for WWE.com is, will Roman Reigns be fired this Tuesday on SmackDown Live? Oh, come on. If people got fired just for assaulting Mr. McMahon, I guess we'd never really know the legend of Stone Cold, would we? Or Triple H. Spoiler alert, Triple H married Vince's daughter. Also, big happenings in WWE is The Shield's final chapter, to which I could have sworn The Shield's final chapter took place during Fastlane back in March, but I guess, and I thought Dean's contract ran out like the day of WrestleMania, like there was literally going to be no more Dean after April 7th, but no, because he showed up after the taping ended in Montreal and had his little goodbye. His wife, Renee Young, is from Canada. Not sure if she's from Montreal, but she's from Canada. So I guess he felt some sort of desire to come out and show some love while they were in her home country. Because Dean Ambrose is a good husband and Shield mate like that. But all this week, he's just been participating in house shows with Seth and Dean, going up against Corbin, Lashley, and McIntyre, which, honestly, I thought about it and I was like, it always seems tiresome when you think about it. But, I mean, really, those six really do put on some incredible matches. I mean, let's be honest, let's be real. It was even better than the whole McIntyre, Ziggler, Strowman sort of thing. And his final match was a house show that was recorded Sunday night and broadcasted to the WWE Network. And the show, The Shield's final chapter, started out with Finn Balor defending his Intercontinental Championship against Elias. And then after Elias was beaten, the Riot Squad pretty much hijacked his concert that he tried to put on after the fact. And then the Riot Squad went up against Bayley and Ember Moon. So yeah, Ember Moon is definitely in action. Maybe she'll actually be in action on TV. Or they'll just do like they did Alexa Bliss. Show her up on Royal Rumble and then no action except on house shows. But now that most of the Raw women's roster has pretty much is either out on injury, might quit, or move to SmackDown, I mean, there's plenty of room for Alexa to hopefully be more consistent with in-ring action on TV this time. But anyway, yeah, Bayley and Ember beat the Riot Squad, and the ref actually kicked out Liv Morgan, which is, I guess, the story way of them pretty much being like, okay, yep, they're disbanding. Bye-bye. And then we got to the main event, which is the Shield versus the Legion of Douche. And the Shield put up another quite frankly amazing match, which, I mean, house shows have great matches, but house shows can also have lame matches. But this one was pretty much great. I'd say it was a light version of like their Fastlane match, which their Fastlane match was incredible. And this match was incredible too. It was incredible light, which is not a bad thing at all. I'm not dissing it anyway. It was quite amazing. So alas, that was Dean's swan song officially, the swan song of the Shield. It doesn't end with Dean constantly getting creamed by Drew McIntyre on the table or an LED wall, or Bobby Lashley making weird remarks about his wife. It ends with three fists coming together, close the book on the Shield. We're done. But what's not done is the Mortal Kombat franchise. Because in just under an hour, I'm going to be heading out and waiting to pick up my copy of Mortal Kombat 11, which comes out at 9 p.m., comes out everywhere tomorrow. And also, this is the week, people. This is the week. Whatever it takes, make your way to the movie theater this weekend because it is the Endgame. And that's your weekly thunder for April 22nd. I'm still your very tired and very sore host, Sexy Thor. And remember to drink, fight, and make your ancestors proud, whatever it takes.